r/Nosleep. Posted by u/g_a93. My son isn't sleeping well, I now know why. My son was, a happy 5-year-old. He came into this world healthy. And from the time he could smile, he never stopped. Around his 5th birthday, I noticed he wasn't sleeping well anymore. As a matter of fact, it took him nearly 2 hours to fall asleep every night. By the time he'd knock out, I'd be sleeping too. The routine was fucking with my work. Damn near fell off the roof a little while back. Didn't secure my safety harness and slipped off the roof. Luckily I caught myself before plunging several floors. Only suffered a gash over my right eyebrow, but otherwise fine. I'm an electrician by trade. Trained by my father. Most days it was drop off at daycare then straight to work at the next average Joe mom and pop joint. It wasn't until just before his 5th birthday party when I noticed how serious his sleep deprivity was. He woke with terror in his eyes as I jolted him up for his big day. His big brown eyes seemed sunken inwards. Exhaustion gripped him. As if the 9 hours of sleep wasn't enough. I sat him down to ask if he's well. But he didn't mention anything. Not one word of being tired. Not one word of being scared. Just nothing. I decided to investigate. The day after his big day I decided to record him during his sleep. To see if maybe he's been waking up or having night terrors. I put him out around 7:30. At 7:35, I turn on the camera and go head to the TV to relax but couldn't make it past the intro Goodfellas. The next morning, to my horror, I opened my son's room. Nothing. Gone. Everything. Not just my son but the entire room, except that camera. In a panic I went to go call for my son. But as I turned back I noticed the hallway was as bare as my son's room. I felt a light dizzy feeling. My stomach churning as I tried to make my way to the living room. As I entered the room, I noticed yet again the furniture and decorations that filled this room had gone. WTF is going on here? I say out loud. I feel like I am in a haze. My boy. I can't forget my son. My son. I trailed off a bit. My son, I repeated. It was until that moment standing in that bare empty room I realized I couldn't remember his name. Why couldn't I remember his name? I knew he mattered to me but I can't remember a thing about him now. As if he's been a made-up character in my life. Shaken and feeling sicker by each moment I run back to the boy's room. Still empty I search for answers. I grab the camera and review the footage. There's the boy. My boy. The sight didn't last long before the camera cut to fuzz. That didn't make sense because I charged it before using it last night. It should have had at least another 3 hours of life left. And almost as if the camera heard my thoughts, the screen was illuminated by a bright light. An unmoving light. The audio was silent at first. But soon I heard muffled voices. I couldn't make out the words. As I peered at the screen my heart rate spiked up to sprinter's pace. My stomach was aching like I needed to puke, but was given no such relief. I collapsed onto the bare floor where my son's bed once was. Tears rolling down my eyes. I couldn't move. My eyes were fixated on the white light on the screen. The voices stayed muffled for what felt like hours. I contemplated on what the fuck was going on. Was this a punishment from God? Was my son okay? Did I have a son? As a matter of fact, who the hell is his mother? These questions and more burrowed their way in and around my head until out of nowhere, I heard the clearest audio sound since collapsing. Push. The sound came as a shock. And a moment later again I heard push. If I could have smiled I would have. I didn't know what the sound was but it was amazing to hear someone. Anyone. My excitement quickly turned to panic as I realized with every push, the light from my camera became brighter and brighter. So bright, in fact, the light began overtaking the room. Push 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 I felt my body begin to lift. I didn't know what was happening. And then, nothing. I woke up in a bed after what felt like I'd been asleep for a few years. My groggy state came as no surprise. I lifted my head. Shocked to see myself back in my son's room. Everything put back in place. A dream I had thought. Or maybe a nightmare. Just as I began to pick my body up I noticed him wearing an awfully colorful night outfit. I didn't have time to react, for just as I was about to speak, a man walked into the room, holding a cake, with the number 5. I couldn't speak a word but I recognized the man. "Dad?" I said. "Happy birthday, little man. Are you ready to have some fun?" I stood there dumbfounded. WTF was going on? I did not have the words to speak. I was in shock. The man who I recognized as my father picked me up as if I was a child. I guess I am a child. He hugged me tight and whispered quietly, "Your mother would have loved to be here to see your party." He kissed my forehead and set me down. "Get dressed, bud, we got to get a lot of things ready." Before my father shut the door, I noticed something. Something that shook me to my core. A scar running across his forehead over his right eyebrow. It's been 7 years since that day. I still don't know what to make of it. My father had a hard time with me in the beginning. I couldn't sleep or eat. Mostly scared of the world around me. Had my adult life been a dream? Did I die and get reincarnated? I'm not sure. All I know is I'm here now and for the foreseeable future. If you're reading this, please get a grip on your reality. Enjoy every moment of your life because you could wake up tomorrow and it all be gone. I've gotta go. I'm going to be late for social studies. The grass is always greener on the other side. My scumbag father learned that a little too late. Things weren't really the same when my folks split up. The walls of the house were an empty remnant of what used to be. Our house used to be filled with so much joy. So much laughter. Mom, Dad and my 2 other brothers, Travis and Tommy, were twins. But we all really got along well. We were only 2 years apart in age. I can remember playing Aliens vs. Spaceman with them. Riding our bikes. Tackle ball out in the front yard till the street lights came on. Those times were so much more simpler. I guess where this story takes a turn is when my dad became very short with us all around the time I turned 13. He was notably more into his work, accounting for a large firm in New York. He'd come home late. Always in a pissy mood. Something about his energy was off though. It didn't feel like my dad. It felt evil. At this point in life, whenever he'd walk into the room, I got this sickly feeling in my gut. Like I had to vomit but nothing to bring up. My head would pound. Eyes begin to water. Not like a crying, more like a reaction to the toxic air around me. Eventually, it came to a head when I was 14. Trav and Tom were 16. Tommy came home from a party with some friends. At this point, Tom had a job at the local pizzeria and was maintaining a school schedule. He was the one who hated being home the most. Our dad berated him for coming home and waking him up. Kept going on and on about how much of a fuck-up Tom was making himself out to be. When I heard the arguing, I got a knot in my stomach like none other before. I could feel the walls vibrating from the consistent roaring of the 2 men. Tom, being a bit of a rebel, pushed past my dad and came into the room to grab some things. He looked at me. "Listen kid, fuck that old man. He's full of shit. He has no one's best interest in mind but his own. Hess the fuck up. I know Mom will wise up soon and leave his ass. Just be strong, bud. I can't take it here much longer. I'll catch a charge living here." He paused for a moment. "Theo, life will only get better. Don't sweat nothing, okay little bro?" With that, he put his forehead on mine and walked out to the hall. Continuing the insult contest with Dad. Trav got home just in time to see the thrilling finale. Dad laying a smack across Tom's face. Trav held back Tom and walked him out. My mother did what she always did. Cry and sit in her room waiting for him to get done teeing off on all of us. This night though, everything, and I mean everything, changed. Tom got into a car crash. He was hospitalized for severe brain trauma. Broken neck. Internal bleeding. Apparently, out of anger, he'd been driving a bit recklessly. Swerving into another car and causing a pretty ugly scene. From that day forward, I never got a sickly feeling. My father ended his tirades and began to work on all his relationships in the house, but it was too late. My mother left him and filed for divorce. It was an oddly quick process. From Tommy's accident to us living with Ma and our Aunt Sally in Brooklyn only took a week or so. Trav and I were so disheartened about everything. They gave Tom a 10% chance at survival. My mom didn't give up. 2 weeks after the crash, I had a paranormal experience like no other. At this point my dad and Mom were on speaking terms. Dad convinced her to let me and Trav stay with him for the weekend. To be honest, I was done as well. Being the youngest, I never voiced my opinions. I felt like maybe there was no need to, or I wasn't going to be heard, so why bother? He took us out for a slice. Then to watch a ball game. He couldn't really understand that his demeanor towards us the last year or so really strained our relationship. And that a couple of pizzas and a ball game weren't going to salvage anything. There needed to be some work to be done. That was, until when we got back to his place, my dad really gave us the nastiest hit he'd ever dealt. We walk in. There's a woman in the kitchen. "Who are you?" I ask, half expecting I had stumbled into the wrong house. "Oh sweetie, you must be Theo. Your father's told me so much about you. And Travi. Oh my god. I can't believe you guys are here." My heart dropped, realizing who this woman was. "Hey boys, this is Rosie. We've been hanging around each other and..." "Does she live here?" Trav asked rather loudly. "Well now let me." "Fuck you." Trav exploded, running out the front. I almost didn't know what to do as my dad ran after him. I did, the only thing I could, run into my room and lay in my bottom bunk. As I laid there I became more enraged. How could he do this to us? How could he do this to our mother? Rosie living here after a few weeks? I understand now why he became so involved at work. Guess the pay raise was a big tit bimbo, 15 years younger than him. He'd been fucking around on my poor mother. And in the midst of Tom in the hospital and the decline of his family, he thought this was the proper time to introduce us to this whore? I laid with tears in my eyes until I gradually drifted to sleep. I wanted nothing more than to go back with Mom and never speak to this asshole again. I woke at 3:30 a.m. I rubbed my eyes a bit while shifting in my bed. "Theo, you awake?" I heard Trav call out from the top bunk. "Hey Trav, guess that fucking dick convinced you to stay. You holding up alright?" "Yeah, hey you think Dad was fucking this broad the whole time, you know the whole time he was being a dick to us? How else do you explain a woman that excited to see some 40-year-old's kids knowing damn well she was fucking a married man?" "Yeah I guess you're right. Hey Theo." Trav started. "Yeah? You think he loves her? Wants to have babies with her?" This struck me as odd. Though the scandal did come as a shock and quite recently, Trav wasn't one to dive into the trauma right away. "I don't know man. Think he tells her his darkest secrets, what he's afraid of, what he cries about." I sat up, realizing the sinister tone in his voice. "Trav? You okay bro?" "Ha ha ha, I just thought of something funny," Trav said, with the creepiest of tones. Just then I noticed I had a voicemail on my cell from a number I did not recognize. "Theo, hey it's Trav, I took a cab to Auntie Sally's after that blow up with Dad. I told Mom all about the bullshit that went down. She understands. Called Dad. If you want us to go get you, call me back, okay? Love you brother." My whole body froze at this point. My stomach, knotting with that oh so familiar pain. The one that used to transpire when my dad would be going off on one of his tirades. Suddenly the darkness of the room became darker than I could have imagined. The door seemed further than I ever remembered. Who the fuck was sitting on the top of Travis' bed? "Don't worry little brother," the voice called from the bunk above. Voice becoming distorted. Sounding more demonic than human at this point. "It will all be over soon." I could no longer speak. Hot air filled the space around me. As if my whole nervous system shut down, I fell backwards. Laying face up. Only able to move my eyes. That thing jumped down from atop Travis' bed. I could almost feel a heat radiating from it. I focused up at the bunk, not wanting to look. As if to taunt me, the thing took a bended knee. And stared daggers into the side of my head. I could feel the tears streaming down the side of my cheeks. The feeling of death returning to the pit of my stomach. Looming over me literally at this point. "Look at me," the thing demanded. As if against my will, I looked. There he stood. I couldn't believe it. "Tommy?" I managed to squeak out, still unable to move. "It will only get better from here. I promise. Don't sweat nothing kid. Watch over Trevi for me okay? He's older but a bit of a knucklehead." With that, he stood up. Morphing into something that definitely didn't look like Tommy. As he hit the door, he looked back at me, his skin now as black as the dark hall. Only showing a wicked grin and human eyes of red. Tommy, or it, strolled back. Now looking more horrifying by the minute. He did a simple gesture that solidified who this actually was. He rested his forehead atop mine. Even looking into those horrifying eyes, I knew it was Tommy. As if my body could no longer react, I fainted. I only awoke due to the screams of a woman. "Rachel, Rosie. Rosie." I got up and walked out to the living room where, ironically, my father sat upright in his favorite recliner. Ice cold. No blood. No wounds. Just dead. The only thing off about him was the look of pure terror on his face. After all the commotion and questioning from the police, I was let go to my mother's care. Rosie moved out and the cause of death was labeled as stress cardiomyopathy. Death by scare. I learned even later in that day that Tommy didn't make it. It's odd, I feel like I already knew that was coming, but still I cried. Sorrow pouring out of me for my fallen brother. A casualty in my father's sinful nature. It was a devastating blow to us all. We buried father and son on the same day. With no one to claim the home as home anymore, my mother inherited it, sold it, and found herself out in Brooklyn, close to her sister. I'm not a religious man. I can't tell you for sure what that thing was. Only that his name was Tommy. He was my brother. He was our savior. You know, thinking about it now, when we got the death certificate for Tommy, his time of death was 0328.